Welcome to the Mystic Fool. I'm Martin Worth, and this is the Mystic Fool.
Yeah, Life After Death, Part 2. Yeah, I had a few extra thoughts about this. There are a couple of people that I've taken to, and I've said, hey, when they've been between lives, I've asked them to describe what's been going on. There was one fellow who had died in a past life. He'd fallen out of a tree or off a shed or somewhere up high and knocked himself out, became concussed. And this was back in imagine like a wheat farm in the middle of Ohio kind of thing. Well, at least that's what I imagine. Back maybe in the 1800s. And, he's wearing those sort of baggy pants held up by a belt and kind of baggy shirt. Here he is trying to find his way home from this barn at the remote end of the property and getting confused, and he's wandering along down a path that eventually leads down to the river, and next thing you know, this client on the table, he's saying, and the kid was like about 10 years old, right? He's saying, I'm sitting around a campfire. I'm cooking some game up on the fire, and I'm a cowboy. How old are you? About 26. I said, okay, that's interesting. You're a 10-year-old boy a minute ago. Now you're a 26-year-old cowboy. I said, so what happened? He says, I don't know. I said, is this some kind of Rip Van Winkle kind of thing where you've been asleep for 16 years? And we worked out that what had happened is his soul energy. We've got to differentiate between spirit and soul in this conversation. His soul energy was still earthbound, wandering that creek line to find his way home. And let's remember, it wasn't actually 16 years because there is no time outside of this dimension. So there he is, wandering the creek line, looking for home, still 16 years later. Along comes a lonesome cowboy who's also looking to go home, finding somewhere where he can lay his head and call home. So there's a sympathetic resonance there where the soul energy of this young kid was able to jump into the soul field of that cowboy. And the kid became the invading spirit, so to speak, in that person's life. Interesting, hey? So what has this got to do with past lives? Okay, first up, he was entrapped because he was earthbound. Who knows why? I didn't ask. Today I would ask, why are you earthbound? Is it because you don't believe in the afterlife? Is it because whatever? But then I said to this guy, okay, call up the spirit of the cowboy, work out the cowboy, clear it with the cowboy, and say to the client on the table, are you now willing to leave the field of this being and move on to your future cycles of time? Which he obviously already had because he's lying on the table, right? But this is tricky. And so I send him up. I say, go back. Go up to the time track of spirit. And when he went up to the time track of spirit, where he had no idea what he was going to find, because remember, first up, it wasn't the client who was the invading spirit. It was the soul energy of the client of the client's past life in the past life. Not the same person, but linked by the same spirit fractal, okay? And the past life energy had been activated when the client fell out of a tree as a kid. So similar sort of falling out, concussed. Yeah, boom, there's your link. Okay. So yeah, I send him up. He's got no preconceived ideas. This guy don't even believe in life after death. He's a very down-to-earth, practical guy who found himself quite astounded by what was going on through his brain when I had him on the table, taking him back on this past life regression to clear issues he had in his current life. He was pretty astounded. So he had no preconceived ideas about what it would be like. He wasn't religious. He wasn't New Age. He wasn't anything except a guy on my massage table covered in tats. Not that that matters, but it does give you a context. Looking like, looking like kind of one of them on the more unsavoury side of the street kind of guys. So no preconceived ideas, you get my point. Boom, what does he do? He says it's blank. I say, okay, cool. Are you sure? He says, no. It's kind of like I'm in space, like I'm floating in space. Like, wow, I'm seeing stars, planets, galaxies. That's what he's describing to me. He's seeing all these sort of, outer space type things, His mind trying to make sense of what he was seeing, which I believe is the closest that I've ever seen anyone go to having a purely unbiased attitude towards what happens between lives, what happens when your soul energy goes back to spirit. Yeah. So I want to add that one in. There was another person who I experimented with, similar thing. I said, do you want to see what happens between lives? Sure, she says. So I pop her on the table. And this wasn't associated with any issue. So there's a difference here, you see. Pop her on the table. Okay, boom. Go up to the time track of spirit. Go between lives. What do you see? And she starts describing a very kind of religious kind of version of past life stuff. And when she got off the table, basically what she had described was what she had been told as a kid by parents and such. So yeah, interesting, hey. I might do some experiments with taking people up between past lives. But the difference is this, look, when I am working with clients and there is a need to go to a past life, because there is an issue that's been activated in this lifetime, an issue that is causing them some grief on one level or another, whether it's entrapped in a cycle of time, in a dimension, whether it's an awakening of a past life injury, past life assumption or belief, spirit, whatever, interdimensional. When there's a reason to go to a past life, and the reason is because there's an issue in this life, then the data that comes back is pure. I've noticed when you go and you experiment and you say, ooh, let's try this, that the data is not pure. And I think the difference between getting a pure data and getting tainted data, I'm going to call it, is because when we go back with curiosity, we're stepping into ego. Ooh, I want to know. And that is not necessarily for the highest good of anybody. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. So yeah, when I did have someone who went back with no bias, there was no waiting rooms, there was no God, there was no New Age religious mumbo jumbo. It was just bliss, light bliss, stars, energy. You get the idea. Okay, something else to think about. So let me know. Have you had past life experience? Ooh, no, hang on a minute. Let's not say that. Have you had an experience in a past life where you have died and have experienced what happened between lives? If you have, let me know. Yeah. Maybe we should do a series of little interviews about between lives. That'd be cool. So let me know. Love to hear from you. Yep, you can email me, themysticfool@martinworth.com. Cool. Thank you. Love ya. Hope all the best for you. Bless you. See ya.